You guys saw another person enter the meeting there, and so just as a reminder, the board has gone into executive session and they entered in at 6:10 for half an hour and should be returning at 6:40. The link for the agenda can be found in the chat box along with the link to the public comment sign-up sheet. And so if you're interested in sign up for that, you can go ahead and sign up there. Thank you. For those of you who've just joined the meeting, the board is currently in executive session for evaluation of personnel. They entered into the executive session at 6:10 for half an hour and should be returning at 6:40. At that time, they'll resume the meeting and move on to business. So again, just as a reminder to those in the meeting that the board is currently in executive session and has been since 6:10 for half an hour and will return at approximately 6:40. If you're interested in signing up for public comment, you'll find the link in the chat box and you can click on that and go ahead and sign up. For those of you who've just entered the meeting, the board is currently in executive session for evaluation of personnel. They entered in at 6:10 for half an hour and should return at 6:40. In the chat box, you can find a link to the board agenda and also a link to sign up for public comment for those who may be interested in participating. Thank you very much.
Hello, Matt.
Hello.
I am back from the board. We are still trying to finish up. I apologize. I would like to reconvene at 6:55. If we could just get a little bit more time, we will be able to finish that conversation. Sorry.
So you want to extend it for 15 minutes?
Yep, we will return at 6:55.
Okay, sounds good.
Yep, sorry about that. Thank you.
I just heard my computer. What's the new time? Oh, do we have a new time for
Yes, they extended 15 minutes, and we'll be back at 6:55.
yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm. For those of you who've just entered the meeting, the board is currently in executive session for a review of personnel. They entered into that at 6:10 for half an hour and returned at 6:40 and extended it by additional 15 minutes. And will be returning at 6:55 to resume the meeting. If you need to or would like to follow along with the agenda, it can be found in the link that's in the chat box, along with the sign up for public comment. If those are interested, they can click on the link there to the Google form and sign up. Yeah, Jason, you should be a co-host and able to unlock.
Perfect. Yep, it just unlocked. Okay, I wasn't just standing here. I was letting Matt know I couldn't unmute myself. So, okay, perfect. I'm just getting back to our agenda. Just give me a minute to get back. Okay, we have come back from our executive session. And so we are still at 3, administration, superintendent evaluation, and contract extension. Is there any clarification, or is I would also entertain if there is a motion.
I would just like to say that last summer we set some essentially goals for, or some targets for Ginger to work on, and all indications show that she has done a very good job at working on those goals. She's taking our district in places that we haven't been before, and it's a good thing. Working on getting the systems of education in our district to be comprehensive and data-based and equitable for everyone who comes here. So I definitely appreciate what she's done.
Thank you, Dan.
I'd like to make a motion that we extend the superintendent's contract.
I second.
Okay.
Second, Hilda.
All right. Thank you, Tasha. So Tasha has moved that we extend the superintendent's contract, and Hilda has seconded. Is there any discussion?
I like a discussion point, if I may. As Dan was saying, we set some standards forward for our district with the superintendent, and those standards included focusing on our operations and management, our curriculum, and our equity. Even though this has happened in COVID, when so many of our systems have had to be pushed and strained, I've been continually impressed by Superintendent Haber's countless hours that she has put in to make sure that our students are served and our staff is healthy and supported. Not only have we been one of the few districts opened in Washington State serving our students, we've kept people safe. And that is because of the systems that the superintendent put into place, along with her collaboration of administrators and outside entities. And that is impressive, all along without losing sight of our student opportunities and achievements. Our district has a long way to go, but I'm thrilled with Superintendent Haber's work that she has put into and continues to put into for our students.
Well, I'm going to bring up a technicality here, that being my thing. We actually set these standards not last summer, but in October of 19, before we knew about the pandemic. And we were actually late. We should have set those standards in the summer, but we didn't. And now we're going to be on a cycle where we, as we should be, and I think as it calls for in Ginger's contract, we need to extend the contract now. We need to set next year's standards and next year's salary by July 1st. And that's where I think we will be. And so and also need to get into the board self-evaluation, but that's another subject. Anyway, I too am enthusiastic about extending this contract and continuing the great work that Ginger has done, and way above and beyond the expectations that we had before COVID.
Thank you, Meg. I appreciate that clarification too. That was very helpful. So any other discussion? Seeing that there's not, I will call a roll call vote. Hilda?
Aye.
Meg?
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
Tasha?
Aye.
I also vote aye. Motion carries. The superintendent's contract has been extended. All right. Yay. I think we are all very pleased to have that decision made, and I think the board was very clear about what they said. Ginger, I appreciate your hard work. I still, I'm just gonna say, because this is a public meeting, I still would love to know all the hours that you have put in, because I think if we were to track all the hours that you put, I wonder how much you make an hour, and I worry about that. So Ginger, thank you for all your dedication to this district, to the staff, to the teachers, to our community, and to our students, most importantly. Thank you.
Well, and it isn't just hours, it's results.
Yes,
Yeah.
right. That's
I mean,
what we were
I
looking
worry
for.
I worry about the hours, but that she managed to get results is really.
Thank you, Meg. I agree. Exactly. Thank you for that. All right, wonderful. All right, so next up we have business. And so we have the enrollment report. And Ginger, is that going to be you or a district admin giving that report?
Thank you, Jason.
I see Brian. Okay.
Yeah, it's Brian. I can speak to enrollment. So January's enrollment is up 4.26 FTE students, and that's a good thing. And what's interesting is, you know, we're paid on our running average through the month of January. I mean, on budget through the month of January, and then from then on, we're paid on our running average. And what's interesting is that our January count was almost identical to our running average so far. So anyway, I just thought I'd throw that out there, and it is roughly 200 students under budget, and as we have talked about, we have made adjustments and budgets and spending patterns, and are following this closely, and as we have mentioned about the ESSER funds, we're also following not only the ESSER 1 funds, but the ESSER 2 funds carefully for how we might fill some of those voids. So are there any questions about enrollment? Oh. Thank you, board.
All right, if there are no questions for Brian, then we will continue to move forward. We have no policies tonight. I'm sure we're all sad about that. So we are going to move to board reports. Is there a legislative report, Meg? Meg, you're on mute. I know you got it.
No, now I got it. I don't know why my computer, well, it's not my computer, it's you guys' computer, but anyway. Well, the legislature, as everybody knows, I'm sure, convened on January 11th and is getting right down to work. And there are a number of bills that we're following, and that WASA, and others. I'm now on the League of Women Voters mailing list, and who knows who else is, but everybody's following all these bills, and there's not really much substantive to report yet, unless you want to get into more detail than I want to. But there was a very cogent article, I thought, in the WASA, Washington School Superintendents, Washington Association of Superintendent or something, whatever it is, Washington Superintendents Association, about the budget outlook for K-12 in general is not very good. And Ginger and I are attending the legislative day, whatever it's called, on Sunday, February 20 something. And then the next day we have an appointment with our legislators, and we will talk about things that relate to our district, but to the extent we decide we should educate them on budgets in general, which I think we should, because a lot of other districts are in worse shape than we are, lots worse shape, unlike under McCleary. We've handled this one well, and but you know, everybody's schools are not going to do well under this budget, I fear, and so the more we can educate our legislators, the better, whether for our own sake or for theirs.
Thank you, Meg. All right, early learning. Dan, is there a report?
Yeah, we had a pretty active book giveaway on the 13th, last Wednesday. The next one is going to happen February 10th. That'll be for kids aged 0 through 5, and it's at the south parking lot of the Catholic Church. For those of you teachers who want to, or students probably, who want to submit for a mini grant from the Ed Foundation, today is the deadline, so start writing if you have. The Ed Foundation is also doing the youth awards, annual youth awards, and those nominations for the youth awards are due February 12th. So if you know of some youth in our county, including Upper County, that if you know of some that warrant having an award, being recognized, get those to the Ed Foundation before February 12th. And they're not going to do a ceremony like they did a couple of years ago, but they will present the awards. They will deliver them. So anyway, that's all.
All right, thanks, Dan. Student reports. Who wants to go first?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'll go first, and then Jaden will go after me, I think. But so this morning we had our student senate meeting, and we also had a panel discussion, and we talked about the high school's cell phone policy. We invited high school administration, like Mr. Snow, and then some high school teachers attended as well. I think Mr. Bicchieri was there and a few other teachers. But we discussed the cell phone policy that we kind of made a few weeks earlier. And we also compared the data that we got from the surveys that we sent out to students. We sent it out to students and teachers, and then we kind of compared the results and discussed that. But overall, it was just nice to get a different perspective, and kind of got the teacher's view on, like their cell phone policies. And it was also nice to collaborate with, teachers and admin about the cell phone policies and talk about the ideas that we had about it, and then kind of, compare the ideas that they had about it. And then I think Jaden's going to talk about it in a little bit more depth, and then kind of our actions going forward.
Yep. So as a part of that conversation, we had some really good exchange of ideas in how phones can be used productively in the classroom, but can also be a distraction, and how to maintain a professional balance of that usage if teachers are inciting it, and also how Amethyst and Mackenzie created a cell phone policy for the high school that was very similar to the one that the high school already had in place. So that gap in understanding of what the expectations already were was enough to realize that we should really be promoting the student handbook and promoting these policies, cell phone or otherwise, more to students, so that they recognize what the expectations are coming into the building each day. As next steps, Mr. Snow had mentioned that he will bring the policy and our discussion and results to the LIT meetings that he and his department heads have, and will join us for our February meeting and bring more teacher voice to the discussion and further that collaboration. Does the board have any other questions about this that we can answer for you all?
I don't see anyone that does. Thank you, Jaden and Olivia, for that update. Great work on what you're doing. Appreciate it. Okay, teaching and learning. Is there a report?
There's not a report.
Okay. Superintendent, do you have a report?
Well, I just want to say thank you. I appreciate what you guys shared and feedback for me. And I just want to acknowledge that we have I am so privileged to work with an absolutely outstanding ESD team. Our teachers are just fabulous. I had an opportunity to be in Lincoln today and watch Peggy Kelleher do a session with her actual student there that she's been working with for a year using Orton Gillingham strategies, which is specific strategies for students that have dyslexia, and also just for struggling readers. And many of those techniques you can use with all students just to give them a really strong foundation in phonics. And it was really fun. I was in there with other elementary teachers and we were all learning together and we were watching Peggy in action. And I just thought, man, I am so privileged to be here and be able to serve alongside such excellent staff. And it's been a heavy lift for our teachers, and they just really, we just work together on it. And you know, we just continue to look at how we can make things better. But one thing is they have a heart for our kids, and was in a small group during a PD session, and a teacher was sharing about how she's gone to the daycares even just to check on some of her kids to make sure they're okay. And so we just, our teachers have big hearts, and I'm just so thankful for their dedication, and our coaches. I mean, I was at a meeting recently where in some districts, I think coaches have gotten kind of discouraged that there haven't been tournaments and we haven't been able to do those things. But our coaches just continue to have that passion for being with their students. And I know it lifts my spirits every time I drive home. I always drive by the football field. And when I see the girls' soccer team out there or football, it's just like, yes, you know, that's what our kids need. They need places where they can connect. And even in the COVID or the Zoom with Dr. Larson later with the superintendents, we asked him if he would work with the DOH to see what we can start opening up for band and choir as well. Like those kids, like, are there ways to safely be able to start bringing some of those kids together? Because connection is so important. And we had a whole afternoon on social emotional learning, and I just had a chance to be with teachers in that group and just hearing them just talk about how they miss being with the students, and they just feel so fortunate to at least have the opportunity where teachers are able to be in the hybrid model and just love seeing the kids. So I'm just really thankful that we have such a high quality ESD team. And I do want to celebrate, we have served, and so kudos to our nutrition team, for example, they have served over 183,000 meals since September 9th, over about 991 were the grab and go. So 150,000 were the grab and go, were curbside, where they were taking meals out to our families, and about 3,200 were served on site during, you know, when students were in session. That's phenomenal, and just really a kudos to Alexandra and her team. Our transportation team, they've been so great to be flexible, and Eric's, you know, it's like, hey, can you fix this pod, and look, can we try something different with this learning pod here and this learning pod here? And they've been really flexible and working with us. Our custodians have worked hard to keep our buildings clean. It's just our administrators, our principals are phenomenal and just are working so collaboratively with their staff and executive team. I just have an amazing, just across the board. So I just feel so thankful to be here in Ellensburg with such an exceptional team. And that is my report.
All right, thank you, Ginger. Any questions for Ginger from the board? Okay, sounds good. Matt, are we ready for public comment? I'm putting Matt on the spot.
Yes, let me just get it set up here and we'll be ready to go.
Perfect, I'll have you set that up. So real quick, individuals wishing to be heard by the board will add their names to the document in the Zoom chat box, or individuals can be recognized within Zoom by using the icon to show they are raising their hand. Once the chair calls on an individual, they will identify themselves by stating their name and address for the record. Individuals will proceed to make comments within the 3-minute time limit. In order to provide equal opportunity for comments, an individual's microphone will be turned off at the 3-minute time limit. The chair may interrupt or terminate an individual's statement when it is too lengthy, personally directive, abusive, obscene, or irrelevant. The board as a whole has the final decision in determining the appropriateness of such rulings. In accordance with the Open Publics Meeting Act 4230, agendas and topics must be set in advance of the meeting. Board members will not respond to public comment during the meeting. Additional comments may be submitted to the board at board@esd401.org. Matt, are we ready?
Okay, I've gone ahead and re-added the link into the chat box for those to sign up. We do have some sign up already.
Great.
And so the first person on that list is Jeff Hashimoto.
Okay.
Let me just go ahead and find him on the list and unlock his mic. Okay, he has been unmuted.
Okay,
Jeff,
can you hear me?
Yes,
Yep.
thank you.
All right, I don't know if my timer started, but I'll let you start my
Yep.
time. Oh, it started, I see it. All right, well, I last spoke to you guys in September at a meeting, and I had some concerns about school opening, and I also had some concerns about school not opening, and being a science person, I felt that it's important to come before you at a time when I feel like, I'm not sure if I was wrong, but I would like to come back to you guys and tell you how school opening is going from my point of view, which is amazing. And I've talked with teachers from all over the state, and schools are opening for them in February, April, or maybe not at all. And I'm really proud that we have our schools open, and I just wanted to commend the school board on that. I was very nervous, and I think you guys made the right decision. I'd like to commend Superintendent Haberer for her leadership and close work with Dr. Larson. I'd like to commend the health department, Dr. Larson, and Neil Musser, who's been the liaison for the high school. And I'm kind of an outspoken person. When I see something that I think needs to be changed, I usually speak up about it. So I think it's also important to speak up when I see something that has I think been done very well. And so I just wanted to say that. And so I thank you guys for your leadership and vision. That's all I got to say.
Thank you.
Okay, the next person I have on the list here is Angela Thomason. Let me find her on the list here, and I can unlock her. There you go. You are unlocked and ready. I'll set the timer.
Thank you. It's Angela Thomason. I think I'm supposed to cite my address, 1608 East Spokane. And I teach 6th grade at Morgan Middle School, science, but I'm also on the building leadership team. I'm a technology mentor for the district, and I'm a mom of an 8th grader and a 2nd grader. And I'm glad that Jeff had all those positive comments, because absolutely, I am thrilled to be back in the building with my students hybrid for most of the day. I also teach virtual academy. My 2nd grader is what I am coming to talk to you about today, though. I really would like to consider bringing K2 back more. Full-time would be the best. But I also understand that Wednesdays are super important for us, our teachers. Today was amazing, the SEL training that we had. So I get it that Wednesdays have been designated for teachers, but even 4 days a week would be great to maybe try to get K2 back. I think we need to be creative this year to figure out how to have them back more. 4 days a week would be great. Dr. Larson had said during one of our meetings that social distancing in that age group is not really needed because they're not the transmitters of the disease. And so I really keyed on to that, because that social emotional part for my 2nd grader, my little 7-year-old at home when I'm at work, and she's home with her 14-year-old brother, and He's trying to do his schoolwork too. So just, I really hope that we look at that maybe next as the next tier to come in at Morgan. I know that we have kids back to school 4 to 5 days a week. You know, obviously they're the ones that have the higher need, but I consider that maybe our kindergartners and our second graders also. These kids can't be left alone. Many have trouble navigating the platforms on their own. I leave my daughter to work, but she can sure find YouTube, no problem. So then again, that's what she's doing instead of doing her schoolwork if I'm at work/school. So, sorry, I kind of just started rambling. I really appreciate having everyone say yes and agree to have us back. I think it's the best, and maybe the next tier can be looking at those K2 kids and bringing them back more. So, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, I am looking at the list and I am not seeing anyone else signed up. I'm just going to double check. I'm not seeing any raised hands. So at this point, I would say that we are out of those interested in giving public comment.
All right. Then we will close public comment. So, sorry, I have too many screens open and I just got to get back to my agenda. All right. So after public comment, we have proposed items for future consideration. We do have board retreat planning as a topic in this area. Is there anything else besides board retreat planning that the board has? No? Okay. Board, how would you like to move forward with board retreat planning as far as topics? Ginger, I don't know if you have that list on you. You do. Maybe that would be helpful for the board, just if you don't if you could remind the board of some of the topics that were mentioned. I would just like to remind the board that I think it might come down to putting some priorities in place. We really want to make sure that in my opinion, I want to make sure that we're able to, if we're going to focus on the retreat, we really make it a priority and maybe focus on fewer things, but really make sure that our focus is really intentional. So that's just my thought, but you can disagree. So thank you, Ginger, for sharing those.
I'll read them out loud since I was trying to make my screen bigger, but it was not wanting to do that. So policy review, doing that process. So for example, looking at policy 1340, targeting student learning, do we want to look at policies that way? What do we want as our policy review process moving forward? That was a suggestion from you guys. Next steps around work planning. Looking at that idea of the work plan, and that kind of goes together a little bit with this first one as well. Equity. I'm excited. I think we'll have our survey results back by the board retreat time, especially if we're thinking about having it the third or fourth week in February. So I would suggest that we set aside a good chunk of time for that, looking and then tying that to the board equity policy. And then someone had suggested before board definition of equity, really saying what do we want that focus to be. We might want to flesh out a little bit more, how would we want to use maybe that superintendent parent council to review the budget, look at our district improvement plan. I know a model that I've participated in and led before is kind of on a quarterly basis. This council takes a look at the district improvement plan, and when Brian sees that where it's a time where it's natural for them to look at the budget, to be able to do that and give their feedback on it. This says it should say what goes in the consent agenda. We've kind of had some questions around that, and I think you guys wanted to try to streamline that a little bit more. And then I just wrote this down. I don't know what it means, but I wrote it down. So it was teaching and learning. How do we process it? So I wasn't sure what that meant. So maybe I just wrote it down and it was part of the conversation. But since I wrote it down, I thought I'd put it on it.
When did you write it down?
I know, it was a while ago. It was like 2 board meetings ago that I wrote it down. So
That sounds right. And I think, yeah, I appreciate you noting it, because I think we're kind of like, we need to write these down.
I wonder if it's the one where I was talking about how, as I said earlier tonight, I don't really understand the data, and if I don't understand it, maybe some other people don't too. But I don't know if that's what it was or not.
Okay.
So here's the data.
So the retreat is gonna be how long? We are talking about.
We can decide that. I think something that we had tossed around might be like go from 8 to 11:30, something like that, or 8 to 12, and then an optional, if you're available, being able to do it hopefully when it's not real muddy, so that we could take a tour of the site. And if we can't do it on that day, we'll for sure schedule a time for you guys to go out and look at the site. And then we eventually want to start having tours on a regular basis with our community, so they can start seeing the great work that's happening out there.
This is already a robust agenda, but possibly in this agenda or study session, we just completed the superintendent evaluation of somehow fitting in a board evaluation.
You know, that's supposed to happen in the summer according to the work plan. We certainly need to do it though, because I hate to think when the last time we did it was. At least a couple of years.
Yeah.
It's an important thing to do.
Right, and also to stay on schedule with the superintendent piece, we need to build that in. I think, I've been thinking about this quite a bit as board chair, and I was I think the work plan in itself is something that I really want to try to focus on as the board chair, to make sure that we are staying on schedule. I really appreciate the work that Meg has gone into, kind of creating that and aligning it with our policies that, have dates and so forth. So I think I'm kind of committed to doing that. Meg and I met briefly, and she had me read this. So I have it almost done. I have not read all of the appendices. There are quite a few examples there, but I almost got to the end. So I'm hoping Meg and I can just do a follow-up conversation about some of our thoughts on this. I don't know, these books were ordered for all the board members, is that right?
Yeah, they're all here, and I read it over. I read the entire book over winter break too. So
Okay.
however you want to read in or not.
And then I have the other book that we are a retreat, I don't know for how long ago, that was about this. And so I've kind of been looking at the two, been trying to kind of figure out like where those are. This kind of goes in line with the work plan, and I think how we move forward. I think there is. I don't know if I want to use the word governance, and Meg, you can help me out on this, but I think after reading a board that matters, I think what we're probably really getting at is kind of operationally, do we really know what we're working towards? I think as a board, we each come into a board as an individual member. We each kind of have our own sort of priorities, and then we come together as a group to try to figure out how to move forward. And I think both of these books provide us some more structure about how to move forward. I would like us to consider that we talk more with that. I would love to follow up with Meg about it. I don't know if it makes sense if we all read this and then like having a discussion. I mean, that could go on forever. I think we'd really need to have some pointed questions that maybe, like if that's an option for the board, that Meg, you and I would create kind of the questions, like if the board is committed to reading them, that they really look at answering these questions and be ready to discuss these specific points about how the board might or might not move forward. That would be my suggestion if we're going to do that. So Meg, do you have thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I've been pushing governance discussions of various kinds for a long time, but at the moment, I'm feeling as though the narrower focus that Jason just suggested of focusing on work planning and board and how we manage the agenda, which are two topics that are covered very well in the Boards That Matter book. The book is a little off-putting because it assumes that you're using a policy governance or a coherent governance model, and we've kind of talked about those, but not really, and we've sort of landed on this balanced governance model that's in the other book, but not really that either. I don't think we're really ripe for a discussion of governance right now. I mean, a big discussion. I think what we need is more focus, as Jason said, on more of an operational, how we operate as a board, and goal setting, which ties directly to what Tasha brought up about evaluation. I mean, we need to have goals and we need to evaluate ourselves. And I'm not sure we're doing terribly well in either one of those. So I would really agree with, it's almost like the rest of you only need to read the two chapters that are sort of operationally oriented. That's not the words they'll use in that book, because they make a big distinction between, anyway, we'll tell you which chapters to read. I would love to work with Jason on that and try to narrow it down to something that's worth talking about without taking all morning, because I think we should spend a lot of time on equity and policy, finishing up, how we're going to finish up and, well, not really finish up, we're going to do that, but how we're going to move forward after we finish up on the policy review.
So board, with all of these topics, I think I would suggest, are we going to try to get through all of them, or can we narrow those things down? The number one that I feel like I really want to focus on is the work plan that would kind of incorporate into this. I think I can do the homework and work with Meg at the beginning, or work with Meg before we meet to kind of create kind of a clear, I think we just need to have it planned out about how we're going to move forward and what our, like, I'm just going to say solution focused, like meaning like, here is what we need to decide upon. We've got this much time to discuss it. Now we got to move forward with a plan. So that was kind of my thought on that. And I'm just speaking freely, and I will be quiet here really quickly. Equity, I am comfortable with equity being a conversation that is on our agenda, on our regular board meeting every single time. If there's no update, there's no update. But I think there's a question of whether or not we just include that into our board reports. That's something for Hilda and I think the board to think about, but I think it's almost every single time. I don't want this to get pushed aside. I think it might be good to have it a part of the board. Maybe this is what we discuss in the board retreat. But I feel like we're all pretty passionate about that. And I think there is constantly something that is moving or we should be working on towards equity. So I would agree that goes on there. What goes on the consent agenda, I think that was under me. Again, I think I can incorporate that into the work plan.
Well, it's in the book too.
Right.
Okay. I was thinking work plan, equity. I mean, we've got this survey coming out. I think we should at least take a look at the survey and see what people are saying, as it's our community, right? So, and it would be nice to know, well, maybe if you'll tell us which chapters to read, we can find that consent agenda contents in the chapter 2. I guess those 3, if we get through those 3 and get started in a policy a little bit, I think we'll be.
We got to do
our whole time.
Got to do policy first, in my opinion. On equity, I mean, one comment I would make is if we're not viewing the survey results until we get there, I mean, like, it was really helpful to have Ginger's evaluation ahead of time, and then you could bring up things that came up when you reviewed it. But I would hate to see us spend a lot of time being shown the results for the very first time. If we're not going to be able to view them ahead of time, it wouldn't, I think, be a very good use of our time.
I would
would say that idea on regarding equity is to show the results that are relevant for the board to hear, not all the results. We definitely have to construct or the equity policy, and that equity policy is going to be the reflections of the results of the survey. There is no other way that we can construct an equity policy. This is the right way to do it. And we also as a board needs to be on the same page regarding what is our understanding about equity. And to me, I think that that's something that needs to be,
that's
board retreat is the place to talk about it and not in an open session.
I think that is a really good use of time, because anytime you're talking about, what's your concept, what's our joint concept, that's good use of group time. It is not good use of group time to get presented a bunch of information that we could have seen ahead of time.
Yeah,
I
agree.
Yeah.
And I'll see, I don't know exactly when we're going to get the data and how easy it is going to be to pull it out. But if we can, to your point, I agree, Meg, we'll see if we can't send you guys something ahead of time so you have a chance to look at it before we meet.
So board, do we feel comfortable? I think based off of your feedback, if I was to kind of draft a schedule, maybe sit down with Ginger and kind of draft a schedule, maybe whoever's in the next agenda setting, and then bring it back to the board. What do we have a date set, Ginger?
No,
we don't.
No,
okay.
We have not.
So, I mean, that might be our next step, is getting that set. And then we can kind of finalize the agenda moving forward. I do think with the agenda that it would make sense for one board member to be kind of the lead or liaison for each topic that would work directly with Ginger to get this moving and to kind of figure out how much time, like how are you, I mean, because I think when I have to put together my PD for my staff and so forth, I have to really think, I have to plan out the program. I have to think about how are we going to lead through the discussion and how are we going to get to the solution in that time frame. And so I think I would like to provide that, give you that structure to say that. So if we are going to, if we review the equity audit and survey results to start moving forward with definitions, I'd be like, Hilda, how long do you think we need to take to do that? Can you map that all out? In my mind, I'd be like, well, that could be 3 hours. We could make it 8 hours, but we don't have that much time. So we just got to figure out how to do that. So I think we have to approach this retreat to be much more intentional about what are we going to try to accomplish during that time that we have. Let's be really strategic and let's plan that out. Whoever's kind of working on it to move that forward. I am committed to doing that with the work plan, to do a bunch of work outside of this, to kind of coordinate it. So that way, hopefully I can present it to the board and say, all right, let's discuss this. Now we need to make a decision. So, work. Quiet. Probably just tired.
So I'm glad to take your feedback that I just heard and kind of put something together as a suggestion, just as maybe a launching spot to you guys. And then kind of based on what I just heard, like who might be a good person to facilitate it. And then I can circle back with folks and just say, okay, is this, when we could do agenda setting, even this Friday, we can look at it together and say, okay, does this make sense? Send it out to everybody. And then I'm glad to then make individual meetings with folks to say, okay, let's really plan this part out. What are you thinking? Because I may have some resources too that I can bring in to help support the conversation.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you, Ginger. Let's plan to do that. All right, just to verify, any other proposed items for future consideration? Okay. We have an executive session and we need to adjourn to that.
And it's actually the exempt session.
Exempt session.
Oh my word. We've already had the executive session, the exempt session. Sorry. Can't have both of these in one meeting.
I know.
Great. So,
All right.
Can I just summarize on the retreat? Your screen went away, Ginger, but
Oh, I can put it back up.
sounds like there are three major topics. One of them being equity, one of them being sort of nuts and bolts board operations, which would include consent agenda. That's just a bolt.
right.
And policies going forward. Is that what other people are understanding? Okay.
So I just bolded
Board
those
self-
three too, so we remember.
Pardon me?
I just put those in bold for you, Meg.
Okay. And I would say board self-evaluation even fits in there because it's part of the board calendar. I mean, it's not that we would do the evaluation, but we should talk about when we do it and how it relates to the other aspects of planning.
Mhm. And I want to make sure that middle bullet, use of superintendent council to review budget district plan, that may not, if we aren't having that at the retreat, I think that that definitely needs to be a topic that we move forward with in a study session. So.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Thanks for doing that clarification, Meg. I appreciate that. Okay. All right. So board, we are going to adjourn to executive session. We need
Exempt session.
We're going to go to another session. And Ginger, how much time or how long?
How about we say, how about we say 8:10?
8:10?
Yes.
I was hoping for 8 o'clock.
All right, we'll go for 8 o'clock. I think we could probably do 8 o'clock. Let's do 8.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. 8 o'clock, we will reconvene.
Okay. So the board has entered in exempt session for 15 minutes and will return at 8.
Hello, Matt. So we need to extend just until 8:10. Sorry.
Okay.
So
All
10,
right.
9 more minutes. All right. Thank you. We'll be back.
Yep.
All right. I think we're almost all back. Dan's audio is connecting. Sorry, I'm just making sure Dan is with us. So looking at the agenda, we would now move on to board calendar. Anything for board calendar? I'm looking at Dan, still connecting maybe, but for the other three of you, do we have anything for board calendar?
Just encouragement to give us a date in February so that I can get that blocked off.
Right, I thank you, I agree.
I think we can set that date, look at the calendar together during agenda setting even this Friday.
Okay. Sounds good. I'm gonna keep us moving forward then. So clarification next steps, anything, Ginger, that you need or no? Okay. Matt, for signing of documents, anything? Updates? Are we way behind?
Yes, I do have the warrants from the prior meeting that need to be signed. But Tasha and Dan came in and signed them. So I do need at least yours on here, need at least 3. I then also have received some documents that are that you need to sign, Jason. So
okay.
So I need.
And having all the board members sign the extension of my contract too. We'll make a print of that and have that in there.
So for the agenda setting, can I come to your office for that? Ginger, are you okay with that if I mask up and
yes,
in your office? That way I can sign all the documents on that Friday. Does that work, Matt, for time-wise?
Yes, that'd be great.
All right.
And this Friday is the 3rd, but since we shift everybody down 1 notch, it's the 3rd.
We didn't do that last week. So
yeah, I feel like it's Hilda's.
It's my turn. Yeah.
It's Hilda's turn because I have met with the other 3 of you.
But it's nobody's turn on the 29th.
Oh, okay.
Well, at least we know, Hilda, we'll see you on Friday.
Well, are we going to meet in person or by Zoom?
You can meet I'm going to come in person that time just because I want to sign documents. If I don't know if all 3 of us can meet in your office.
We can move into the bigger room. And Hilda, I wouldn't mind having you come because I'd like to kind of show you that manual too, so we can start planning some of those.
Okay.
Lessons if you want, but if you'd rather go Zoom. And actually Dan is on for the 29th. I think he got a 2 for this month.
What?
That's how Matt has it set up.
Yeah, I didn't shift down just because Dan was supposed to be the 1st. I just moved him to the end of the month.
Yeah.
But he had to come in. So.
Yeah.
So I'm on the 29th.
Once I get my shot next week, I can come sign documents. But is that soon enough on the superintendent contract? My shot is like Thursday, a week from tomorrow.
So I'm on the 29th and I'm on the February 1st or 3rd, 5th.
5th.
They usually come in the first Friday.
Dan, you already came in, so you're good.
I know.
Yeah, it can't be you. It's gotta be Tasha. Yeah.
No, okay. It should be Tasha.
No, I'm looking at it at the Zoom, and Matt sent out Zoom invites, and we're just going by that. So yes, Dan, you go twice because of this off thing. So you are still down for not only the 29th, but when I look at my calendar, you're also for the first Friday of the month.
Okay.
I think it's just because of the way the dates fell out.
I'm glad we're working on our equity policy.
It is awesome because Matt sent out invites. And so when I go to my Gmail, right, that I check, I can just go in that top right and see calendar and my invites
Right.
there. That's how I know to show up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good, you all. Sorry, this has been a long meeting and I thought it was going to be short. Okay, I think.
Okay.
Anything else, Matt? Okay.
Not on my end.
Of documents, so we are at adjournment.
Oh, did I get an answer to that question about, can I wait till a week from tomorrow to sign the superintendent's contract?
Yeah.
Okay.
I entertain a motion.
Let's adjourn.
I think Meg has moved. Is there a second?
Bill, second.
Tasha seconds. We're done. All right.
All right.
All right.
All right.
Great
Bye-bye.
evening, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.